Hello, everybody. In this lecture, we are going to be covering the second part of our factoring trinomials math tutorial. And remember, a trinomial is something in math that has three terms. Tri means three, and it's typically written in the form ax squared plus bx plus c. And in the first math tutorial, we learned how to factor a trinomial when a is 1, so that it just started x squared plus something x plus something. But in this video, we're going to learn how to factor a trinomial when a does not equal 1. So first thing we're going to do is look at our strategy, and we're going to talk about how to do it, and then we're going to work through some examples. So step number 1 is we're going to determine if there is a factor common to all three terms. And if so, we're going to pull it out. So determine if there is a common factor, and if so, pull it out. And sometimes this step is important because there is a common factor, but sometimes there's just not a common factor. And then we can skip step 2. Step 1, and go to step 2. So step 2 says we're going to draw a T-chart. And I love T-charts because they help keep my thoughts very organized. Draw a T-chart. Not a T-charts, a T-chart, just one. We're going to do just one. But our T-chart is going to look something like this, where in the left column, we're going to list factors, and in the right column, we're going to list sums. And let's talk about how to do that. So step number 3 is in the left column, which is, let me draw an arrow, this one, you're going to list the factors of your coefficient A times your coefficient C. So you're going to list the factors of A times C. And step number 4 is in the right column, you're going to add them up. You're going to add the factors. And so you're going to do that here. So in the left, you list the factors, and in the right, you add the factors. Okay, step number 5. The factors that you want are the ones that add up to the B term. So the factors you want add to B. Okay, so how do we use the two factors that we found? What you're going to do, and this is step number 6, is use the factors to break up your middle term, which is this term here. It's b to the x. I'm sorry, it's bx, not b to the x. It's not a power, it's just bx. So we're going to use the factors to break up our middle term. And this might make a little more sense when we work in examples, so bear with me, but let's go through our strategy. Step number 7 is factor by grouping. Factor by grouping. And there's a whole nother math tutorial on how to factor by grouping if you need a quick refresher. So factor by grouping. Although you could just stay tuned and watch us work through an example. So let me clear my screen. Let's see, edit, clear layer, and let's work through an example. So my example is this one. And just to keep myself organized, I'm going to put example EX underline underline dot dot, and my directions are factor. And we are going to factor 3x squared minus 7x minus 6. Okay, so how do we do this? Step number 1, determine if there is a factor common to all three terms. You know, I don't see one because there's not an x on the 6, there's not an x on the 6, and 3 goes into 6, but it doesn't go into 7, so 3 is not common, so we have to skip step 1. And let's go to step 2, which is draw a t-chart. So our t-chart is going to look like this, and on the left we're going to list our factors, and on the right we're going to list our sums. Okay, so on the left we're writing our factors, and we're writing our factors of A times C. So 3 times negative 6 is negative 18. So I'm going to list my factors of negative 18. And remember, factors are things that multiply to get negative 18. So I have negative 9 and 2. I have obviously negative 2 and 9, 18, and negative 1, negative 18, and a positive 1. And I can keep going, but I'm going to take a quick peek ahead because I know that I'm going to add them up, and I'm looking for something that sums to the middle term, to my B term. This is my A term, this is my B term, this is my C term, and the sum that I'm looking for is the one that adds up to negative 7. So before we continue listing factors, let's see if we're there. So we have negative 9 plus 2. Well, I hit it on the head. I found the one I want on the first go. So I don't even need to keep going because I found the factors that I'm looking for. The factors that I want are negative 9 and 2. And so let's look at how to use them. We're on step 6 of our strategy. We're going to use the factors that we found to break up the middle term. So I'm going to rewrite my trinomial, 3x squared minus 7x minus 6. Now this time, instead of writing minus 7x, I'm going to break it up. So I have 3x squared minus 9x plus 2x minus 6. And do you see how I took the two factors I found, minus 9 and a positive 2, and I plugged them in here? But I'm not really changing anything because minus 9 plus 2 is minus 7. And so I'm just rewriting what I have in a different way. And now I'm going to factor by grouping, which is a technique we use when we have 4 terms. So I'm going to look at my 4 terms and cluster them up. And you want to cluster up the ones that look alike. And I think that this one looks alike because it has a 3, it has a negative 9, and negative, 3 goes into negative 9, and these both have x's. And this one has a 2, and a 2 goes into 6. So now I'm going to pull out my GCF on this first group. And the biggest thing that goes into both 3x squared and negative 9x is a 3x. So I'm going to pull it out, leave what's left behind in parentheses. So I have an x and a 3, a negative 3, because 3x times x is 3x squared. 3x times minus 3 is minus 9x. And then in this one, I'm going to look for my GCF, and in this case it's a positive 2. And I'm going to see what's left behind. In this case, it's x and a minus 3. Now I have 2 new groups. I'm going to look for my GCF among this, and the thing that they both have in common is x minus 3. And I'm going to pull that out from here, and I'm going to pull that out from here, and then what I leave behind is 3x plus 2. And this is my answer when I factor this trinomial. If you have any questions, send me an email via my contact page on my blog, ProfessorCynthiaCollegeAlgebra.wordpress.com, and have a wonderful day.